In this video, we're going to talk about trend lines. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how I draw the levels and also a way that you can validate these levels once they're on your chart. So we're on the Euro USD weekly chart here. And one thing I like to do is move to either the daily or the weekly and zoom out and just kind of take a look at the ebb and flow of the market and see if there's something here that we can use to draw a trend line. All right, so the very first thing that stands out are these lows back here. Now, if we draw a trend line, I can see right off the bat, if I draw a trend line from this low, it's going to connect somewhere out here. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take a look at this low right here. All right, so if I move into the daily, and zoom out a little bit. All right, so this is the low right down here that we were just looking at. And if I draw a trend line, we can actually see that there are two lows right here that match up nicely with that level. And if I continue this up, okay, so we've got these two touches right here, and then we have this one right here. So notice how the market actually tested the level. It dropped below the level intraday, but it closed back above it. So this was not a breakout. This one, however, clearly closed below the level, and then we got selling pressure. So no surprise there. All right, so this is pretty standard. But this is also, I want to point this out because this is a way that you can actually validate these levels. So if you see a market that dips below a level and then closes back above it, you get this buying pressure right here. This is an indication that this trend line is valid. Okay, if you see this once or twice or especially 3 times, that's really an indication that, you know, the market is paying attention to this level. So when you do get a break like this, you're going to get selling pressure. Okay, so the next currency pair I want to talk about is the dollar yen. And again, I want to move out to the weekly chart, and we're going to have to move way out for this one. So we have this uptrend, certainly kind of messy, but that's pretty standard for the yen pairs. So we have these lows back here, and I want to take a look and see if there is a trend line that maybe connects this low down here with this low right here. All right, so let's move down to the daily. And let me just get my bearings here. Okay, so this is the swing low that we're interested in. So I'll just start the trend line there. And I'm going to connect these lows right here and continue this level on. Let me just zoom in here and make sure I've got this accurate. Okay, so we've got this low right here and that low. Let me just draw these out for you. So we've got this touch right here and this touch. This one doesn't quite hit the level, but a volatile spike like this also depends on your broker. For mine, it didn't quite reach the level, but on your broker's chart, it may. All right, so let's move on here and see what we have. So notice how this low right here also touched the level, and then we got a breakdown and selling pressure, just like the last chart we looked at. Now, one question I get a lot is, how do you know your trend line is accurate? And the easiest way by far is to just watch how the market reacts to it. So old support, right? This was acting as support before when it was back here. Once the market broke below it right here, this level becomes resistance. So all we want to do is look and see over the next few days how the market reacts to this level. And we can already see right here, if I zoom in, how during yesterday's session, the market actually formed this longer upper wick right here. So that's an indication of selling pressure. And we can also see today, this high right here again retested the level as new resistance. So if we start seeing several of these type of candles with a long upper wick, that's an indication of selling pressure. And it also tells us that market participants are indeed paying attention to this trend line. All right, and last but not least, we have the pound yen. And this one here, we don't have to zoom out too far, but I do want to show you something that I do almost every time I draw a level, unless it's really obvious. And that is, instead of drawing a trend line, I'll try drawing a channel instead, all right? So let me show you the levels I'm looking at here. So we have these lows back here, these swing lows, and it's pretty clear that this is a trend line. It's also an uptrend, right? We have the market making higher highs, higher lows. But instead of just drawing a trend line like this, what I almost always do is grab my channel tool and draw the same trend line down here, drag this level up and see if this is a channel instead of just a trend line. Okay, so what that allows me to do is, let's say that we were drawing this back here when we just had this low, and this high. Well, guess what? If we had drawn this at that time, we would have seen this resistance level. All right, so what this also does is it gives us more of a target. When this level breaks, we can trade this as a channel instead of just a trend line. All right, so it gives you a little bit more structure to your trading when you can have a channel on your chart instead of just a trend line. So again, this is something I do almost every time, and it's not always going to work out. Sometimes this will just be a trend line, but always give it a shot because you never know. All right, and again, if you can find a channel instead of a trend line, it's going to give a lot more structure to your trading.